1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move, whatever click you choose.
Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro, man. And if you want to get that song, it's available only on a 10-song EP that you purchase directly and only from me. If you're interested, hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com. Cashapp, PayPal, or Zelle me $20, and I'm going to get it to you ASAP. Also, if you're new to the channel, man, I got a lot of great stories. Check out some of my older content, man. Go to my YouTube playlist. It's called Binge Watch the Best. I got a lot of fight stories, a lot of riots, a lot of hilarious stuff. Now let's hop right up into this story, man. So I'm going to be touching on a story that I had told a while before, right? And when I did that story, you had a lot of people in the comment ask, well, hey, chill, man, why wasn't your homie DP? Why wasn't he given a discipline for kicking off that riot, right? So let me give you guys some background information on what occurred. We had a homie who pushed with the car known as John John. When I say with the car, I'm talking about the Inland Empire car. Now, I can't remember exactly where John John was from. I want to say he was from Rialto. I don't know if he was from Rialto 5 times or he was just from Rialto, right? But John John was, John John was kind of cool, laid back, maybe about 5'9", 5'10", probably about maybe about 205, 210 pounds, kind of a chubby dude, he a little stocky dude that got a little chubby or whatever. And he had been locked up, I believe he had life. Well, I definitely know he had life because he reached out to me not too long ago on Facebook, and unfortunately for him, he is still locked up, right? So anyway, John happened to make a bet with an Asian dude. Now, of course, in the California prisons, we have a great rapport with the Asians. We program on the same side. We play basketball with them. There's no problem. We can choose to make spreads with them, eat with them, or whatever, right? We have no hang-ups with them, and they have no hang-ups with us, Actually, out here in California, you have a lot of Asians and blacks who share the same communities, right? So it's all good, right? So now, of course, like I said, there's a lot of gambling and stuff going on or whatever in the California prisons. That's how a lot of people pass their time. And so in this particular bet, John bet the Asian dude at the start of the NBA basketball season that the Lakers would not make the playoffs, right? And so now, it's maybe about a month or two into the season, and suddenly, as sometimes it often happens in prison, the Asian dude comes to John and says, hey, man, look, they just called me in to go see my counselor or whatever, and I'm getting transferred. Now, sometimes you may get transferred because you stayed out of trouble and your points have dropped and you're going to a lower security level, or if you happen to get in trouble and you get points when they write you up and give you a disciplinary action, which is known as a 115, and that hires your points, and the California prison system is based on a point system. A certain amount of points will have you at a level 1, a certain amount of points will have you at a level 2, so on and so forth, right? You, of course, gain points by getting in trouble, and you lose points by staying out of trouble, by working. They take 8 points off each year, right? So anyway, the Asian dude comes and tells John, man, I'm being transferred, right? Well, John is like, hold up. Well, if you being transferred, man, you owe me, because at that point, the Lakers was maybe in 10th place or in 9th place or whatever. At that particular point, the Lakers would not have made the playoffs. But the bet was that the Lakers would not make the playoffs, of course, at the end of the season, right? So the Asian dude who was right is telling John, well, hey, man, listen. There's still X amount of games left. Who knows if the Lakers are going to make the playoffs or not, man? You know, you may end up owing me. At the most, though, what they should have done is it should have just been a wash. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't going to be determined at that particular day if the Lakers would or would not make the playoffs. Now, in hindsight, the Lakers did end up making the playoffs. And so John would have had to pay. So for whatever reason, I don't know if John was, thirsty for the bread. He was doing bad. He was in need of some money. At the very least, he was using irrational thinking, right? Because there's no way, man, you could determine the Lakers wasn't going to make the playoffs because, like I say, there's numerous games to be played and players get injured or whatever, right? So the Asian dude is, like I said, man, he's telling him, hey, man, listen, man, I'm not giving you no bread. The bet is not determined today, right? So whatever. So John gets a little upset, and this goes on a day or two. And so John, I guess, goes and talks to somebody else, some other Asian dude or whatever. I guess, I don't know if this dude has some juice or whatever, but John explains the situation to the Asian dude, and the Asian dude tells John, you can get a head up fade with that dude. Y'all can fight one-on-one, So on this particular day, I believe, I want to say it was a Saturday, right? It was a Saturday afternoon, and we was outside watching the basketball tournament. Now, in Ironwood is where all this stuff took place at, on a yard. Maybe I want to say maybe around 2000, somewhere around there. They have a full court basketball that's outside, a full court basketball court, right? One side is for the blacks and the Asians, and the other side is for the Southsiders and the whites. So now there'll be times when we'll have basketball tournaments, and when we have a basketball tournament and we want to run full, the Southsiders will allow us to use their end of the basketball court, and when they're having a basketball tournament, we give them the same, same courtesy, right? So now when you have these basketball tournaments, there are actually, dudes out there with whistles for the referees. We have a, time clock, scorecard, all that old type of stuff. We're out there watching the full court basketball game. So John has talked to this dude or whatever, and he's going down there to talk to the Asian dude who he has made this bet with. Now they happen to be in front of building 4. Now in Ironwood, you have 5 buildings on the yard, and so building 4 happens to be almost right across from the basketball court. So as we're watching the basketball game, looking this way, they're playing or whatever, back and forth, they're doing what they do. John, he goes to approach the Asians. Now the Asians happen to be hanging out maybe in a, I don't know, maybe a group of maybe 10, 15, who knows, in front of building 4, it's a couple of tables out there. You got some at the tables. You got some posted up against the wall. Ironwood is extremely hot, so they're over there in the shade just chilling. So now John goes down there to approach whoever has made this bet with. I guess, the dude that's told him he can get a head up fade. John wants to fade. So he goes over there and he's talking to the dude. Now keep in mind, of course, California prison protocol dictates that no race put their hands on another dude from another race, right? So John goes down there into this pack of Asians, right? Now maybe he should have pulled the dude to the side, or maybe he should have said, hey man, listen, your homie say I can get a head up fade or whatever, and maybe they should have went into the cell. Keep in mind, still in all, John is still 100% wrong, because they didn't make a bet that if the Lakers was going to make the playoffs by midway season or halfway of the season, there are still several games to be played. And then in hindsight, John would have lost the bet, because the Lakers actually did end up moving up into enough spots to make the playoffs, right? So John, though, he doesn't want to listen to reason, or he doesn't want to think rationally. I don't know if he was hurting for the bread or whatever it was. So he goes over there. He says a few things to the Asian. Then all of a sudden, boop, bop, boop, bop, he just gets off on the Asian. Now, the Asian dude, like I said, he's up against the wall with some of his homies. They over there chilling, having a spread or whatever they was doing, right? So now the other Asians, they don't know anything about, John has been given the word to get ahead of fade with this dude. So when John takes off, the Asian dudes, they do what they supposed to do. They jump up and they run over there. Now, initially, when they're fighting, I never forget, man, we was sitting on the bleachers. Now, it was Half Head from Insane. It was myself. And also, I remember I talked about a story the other day that I did a reaction to a story the other day where Rick Rock was talking about he had gotten to a fight with a dude named KC. KC happened to be on the bleachers as well, right? So now, when they initially first start fighting, it's just John and the Asian dude for a couple of seconds. So we look back over there to see what's going on. I specifically remember Half Head saying, hey, y'all, man, don't look over there. Let them dudes do whatever they doing, because, of course, if you got two dudes fighting in front of a building and then you got the whole entire yard looking that way, of course, you are going to eventually get the police's attention, because the police is going to want to know what's going on, right? So he said, hey, man, don't look over there. Keep watching the game. So they over there fighting, for a little bit, a few seconds. But it's only human nature, right, to want to look and glance, right? So I take another glance. When I look over there the second time, I recognize that it's John, right? And I said, oh, hell no, that's the homie. Because now, when I look back over there the second time, now the Asians have jumped in. And so now they rushing him. They got him by the table. Boop, bop, boop, bop, boop. Then, they own him. He trying to fight. He boop, bop, he's swinging. So I hop up. I run over there. Now, initially, when I run over there, because at the second glance, I just see, a black dude and some brown people fighting. I assumed that he was into it with the Southsiders because, like I said, we have a pretty decent rapport with the Asians. And up until that point of my incarceration, I hadn't seen any riots with the blacks and the Asians. So, of course, I'm assuming it's the Southsiders. Nevertheless, whoever it is, I run right over there. So when I run over there, I get cracking. Boop, bop, boop, bop. Now it was some bloods right there on the wall, too. It was a couple of bloods sitting right there. And to their credit, they jumped right up and got active, too. Now, when I run over there and I leave the bleachers, because we sitting on the bleachers watching the basketball game, you got some dudes, who on the bleachers, some black dudes too. They follow suit. So now we over there, we on them. Bop, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop, bop. We squabbing it. They squabbing, they doing their thing, man. I'll never forget, man. It was a dude who I knew, and I'd speak to him periodically by the name of Jason, man. Jason was a smaller dude, man. He fell down on the ground. I came past him, man. Bam! I kicked him real hard in the face, man, because when it's on, man, it's on. You know what I'm saying? It's no, saying, hey, man, I know this dude, I know that dude. You gonna know some of everybody. And like I said, me and Jason, we wasn't the coolest, but I acknowledged him. I think he might get out there and play basketball from time to time. Maybe not, but I definitely remember Jason, right? And so now we go to squab, and everybody's over there squabbing. Boop, bop, boop, bop. Now you got Asians who happen to see the squab. They're over there in the weight pile or whatever, which is like maybe, I want to say maybe, I don't know, maybe 50, 75 yards from the basketball court. So once they see what's going on and realize it's they people, they start running across the yard, right? I never forget, it was a dude by the name of Joe. At the time, I'm in the cell with a dude, man, and Joe and my cellie lock up, and Joe kind of got the best of my cellie. Joe was a big old Samoan dude, right? So we run over there, we squabbing. So now eventually the police see what's going on and they hit the alarm. They hollering, get down. Now, so you got Asians running across the yard, coming to jump, coming to help their homies or whatever. So now when they hit the alarm and say, get down, the normal practice is when anything is going on outside, and if you happen to be in the building or whatever, you'll just go to the window and look and see what's going on. Now, the buildings are, 2 tiers. Bottom floor and top floor. So anybody that's on the top floor, you can go look out the window. So when you have some Southsiders, when they hear the alarm, so of course, everybody's always curious. And sometimes you can tell the difference in what possibly may be going on in the way they're shouting, get down, get down, get down. If they're hollering like that, then you can say, okay, that sounds like really something. Plus, at some point, I forget the exact terminology, but I think it's a code 2. So when they say code 2, that means it's more than 2 or 3 people involved or whatever. So those things, those signs for an individual that's been doing time long enough, you can tell that, okay, this is a melee, this is a riot. So when the Southsiders in the building, they go and they look outside, they look out the window and they see blacks and brown people fighting on their side of the basketball court. They automatically and rightfully assume that, okay, it's blacks and the Mexicans fighting, right? So then a riot jumps off. They take off in the building. Now the blacks and the Asians are fighting outside on the yard, but inside the building, the blacks and the Mexicans are in there squabbling. Boop, bop, beep, boop, bop, bop. So it's jumping off on both areas. Like I say, outside on the yard and inside in the building. So they squabbling. Everybody's doing their thing, So the police run over there. They shooting their little guns, tear gas or whatever. Hopping out with their batons and spraying everybody up or whatever they did to, get the situation under hand, right? And so eventually they got the situation under hand. We got handcuffed, took in the building or whatever for those who wasn't caught in a actual tussle or whatever, right? So I remember we end up going back into the building, and my cellie black at the time. My cellie was black, man. Like I say, him and Joe locked up, man. And he kind of got the best. Joe kind of got the best of my cellie, right? And then maybe 2 or 3 days later on, when they came around, the guards will walk around and you have to step out in your boxers and show your hands and all this and that, and they see if you got any injuries on your hands or your face or eye or whatever. My cellie, his eye was all messed up. So they ended up taking him to the hole and I never seen him again, man. But a lot of people ask me in that situation, or a lot of people ask in that situation, why wasn't the homie John DP'd? And the reason John didn't get a DP is because after the situation was sorted out, it was found out that the Asian dude did tell John he could get a head up fade. John's mistake, or where he kind of went wrong, was he just walked down there and talked to the dude one last time. Was like, hey man, what's up? So can I get my stuff? Or whatever he said to the dude. And when the dude once again said, hey man, I'm not paying you, the bet is not complete yet. John fired on the dude. So what John should have done is he should have got at the dude who told him that he could get the fade. They should have made better arrangements, man, to go into a cell or whatever. And also the dude, when telling John he could get a fade with one of his people, he should have let the rest of the Asians know. Because when John went down there and took off on the dude, of course, we know that California prison policy dictates that no race is going to put their hands on another race. And so when the Asians saw that, they didn't know, apparently, that John had permission to have a one-on-one with this dude. So they jumped up and handled their business as they were supposed to do, right? And so that's the reason that John didn't get a DP, right? Everybody just did what they were supposed to do. Now, in relation to the fighting that took off inside the building between the Southsiders and the blacks, that situation was also cleaned up, and just realizing that it was an honest mistake. The Southsiders, they looked outside and seen on their side of the court blacks and brown people engage in a squabble and getting cracking or whatever. So of course they are going to assume that that's their people, because that was their side of the basketball court, and so that also was just brushed to the side. No harm, no foul. It was an honest mistake. Whenever they did let us out in a couple of weeks or whatever, it went back to normal program, man. But that's right there, a little story right there, man, of when the blacks got into it and they was fighting the Asians and the Southsiders. Actually, to my boy John, man, John, unfortunately for him, is still locked up, man. John reached out to me on Facebook about a month or two ago, man, or maybe a little longer than that, right? So when I see him hit me on Facebook, I'm thinking that the dude is out. I didn't know that he was still locked up. And I'm just, anytime somebody reaches out to me that I've done time with And just to know that they are still locked up, that's just like, dang, man, I be feeling like, damn, man, you know, that is just still a long time to be continuously and repeatedly doing the same thing day in, day out, day in, day out. Man, I don't know if you guys heard me mention, I had a homie named, an older homie by the name of Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter was really with the business, man, an older dude. This dude was solid, man, and like I say, really with the business, man. And this dude didn't care, police, convict, this dude would go off. But I got a call from him yesterday, man, and he is free, man. After doing 31 years, man, the dude is free. So I may interview him or talk a little bit more about his situation a little later on, man. So yeah, I'm just proud to know that he's out. Dude been locked up 31 years, man. And so he finally made his way out. And so that's what's up. Anyway, man, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.